My dear students, this is Mona Bhatia. You're watching Learners Academy. Today I'm going to take up a poem Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. The title is Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. So I'm going to take up each and every line one by one, explaining you. The first line states, here the poet is wishing. He is wishing that everyone in his country holds his head high. That means he lives in dignity without any fear. So this poem was written during British era, where Indians were subjected to many oppressions. They were made to believe that Britishers are superior, and so they have right to suppress Indians. Here Tagore is trying to invoke the feeling of pride and dignity among Indians. He is wishing for that India where the head is held high. Where the head is held high. Now the third line states where the knowledge is free. It's not that the knowledge should be free of cost. It's basically it should be accessible to all. Where knowledge can be accessed by anyone without any uh, distinctions of caste, creed, or color. All should be able to have an access to knowledge. Now, the fourth line, where the world has not been broken up into fragments. Now, what is broken up into fragments? It's like uh, by narrow domestic walls based on caste, creed, color, race, etc. So the narrow domestic walls also means the same. It's like very narrow mindset where people are divided on the basis of color, caste, creed. See, domestic means internal. So this actually India was divided into many, different small segments, and that's the reason why Britishers were able to rule us. You know, yeah, divide and rule. So India was already divided into many caste, color, creed. So he's trying to tell us that we should not be broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. We should look beyond that. Now the next line is where words come out from the depth of truth. This line means when the people speak truthfully and with complete sincerity, where people are straightforward, they are honest, they speak without any hesitation. Write that. Now, the next line is where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. Tireless striving means a continuous effort, making continuous efforts without giving up, irrespective of any obstacle or any difficulty. Here, the poet says there should be non stop efforts. The poet wants everyone to work hard to reach their goal, and they should aim for perfection. They should do their best, they should utilize their potential. That's what he meant by this. Now, the next, into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Now, what does this mean? Uh, this means basically dead habits are those old beliefs and old customs. The phrase dead habit also means the rituals and customs which are of no use now in the modern world. Those customs which are followed without any logic or any scientific explanation. So, this line means clear thinking is not lost due to the dead habits, that is, illogical superstition. So, you have to take these two lines combined. Clear streams of reason, that means clear thinking is not lost because of the dead habits. All right, the line number 8 here, where the mind is led forward by thee. Here thee is God. He's referring to God. Thee is an archaic word and thee means God. um, this means Tagore says that our mind should be led by God and should be led to where? Into ever widening thought and actions. Right? People should keep on widening their outlook, attitude, their thought, their actions. In short, they should move away from narrow domestic walls. Where is narrow domestic walls? He mentioned about this before. This is narrow domestic walls. Okay. Now he's from narrowness. He's telling his countrymen to go into widening, broad-mindedness. Widening their thought and action. In short, they should move from narrow domestic wall to broader outlook. They should not divide themselves. They should feel that they are all one together. And he's asking God to lead into ever widening thought and action into that heaven of freedom. What is that heaven of freedom? Heaven of freedom means the condition of total freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom of good deed, freedom of speech, freedom of action. So what does this line means? The last line is a prayer. It's actually a prayer. Let my country awake. That's a bottom line. And here Tagore means that he's referring to God, my father, and he's asking him that my countrymen should be free from all type of shackles of ignorance, divisions. Okay, all right. Now we'll move on to the next slide. Tagore got Nobel Prize for his poem, for his anthology, which was written in Bengali in 1913. He got Nobel Prize for this, and this poem has been taken from Gitanjali. He wrote this poem in Bengali and he translated this poem later into English. And the beauty is that the beauty of the poem is not lost in translation. He was able to maintain it, right? Now next, move on to the next slide. There are certain words and phrases where you need to understand. They are there in the poem itself. Narrow domestic walls. I've already mentioned all those narrow thinking things that leads to the division of society. All right, they should not be there. Narrow domestic means internal. All right, and then comes tireless striving, means continuous efforts and hard work or struggle without giving up, irrespective of any obstacle. All right, it relates to the various attempts made at achieving goal. You should continuously strive. All right. Now comes dead habits. Dead habits are old traditional rituals or customs or superstitions that are very harmful and that are followed without any thought and logic, which should be dropped by us because they are hampering our growth. The next term is ever widening. Ever widening means broadening one's outlook or approach continuously. Now the fragments means segments, different parts. This is not mentioned here, but that word is there in the poem. Now heaven of freedom. This is very important. Condition of total freedom. Freedom of good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And there are other words like streams in the poem, which means narrow, small river. Alright, next, move on to the next slide. There are certain questions which can be asked. They are very important from examination point of view. But my suggestion is whenever you are reading a poem, you should answer the question that makes the clear understanding of the poem. That gives you better understanding. So the first question is very simple. What does the poet pray to the Almighty for? All right. Read the poem once again. You'll get, see, he's asking for the overall awakening of his countrymen, not just political freedom. All right. India should be a country where there is total freedom of good thoughts, good action. Actually, he's wishing for intellectual and moral awakening also, where people are broad-minded, they are rational, they have scientific approach towards life, where they are not governed by illogical superstitions. Now the second question is, what are the reasons and dead habit compared to? You see this, reason and dead habit. So reason has been compared to stream and dead habit been compared to dreary desert. Alright, dreary means dull. Alright, now the third question, what does the poet wish for? It's actually similar to the first question, not much difference, but still I'll give you an answer for this. He's actually wishing that his countrymen should have freedom of all sorts, freedoms of thoughts, action, freedom in true sense, where there is no mental block, where they are free to express. Their reason should not be lost or overshadowed by superstitions, beliefs, or prejudices. Now, the next question is, how is the word broken into fragments? How is the world broken into fragments? Any guesses? See, the world is broken into fragments on the basis of religion, caste, class, race, color. It's all over the world. Alright? Next is, explain the tireless striving should be for. What the tireless striving should be for? So, the tireless striving should be for, yeah, any guesses? Yeah. See, the tireless striving should be to achieve perfection. Alright, here it is there in this line, where tireless striving stretches his arms towards perfection. Okay, should be to attain one's goal as well as to achieve perfection. Now, where the words come out from the depth of truth, explain this in your own words. Alright, so this means where the it means basically that the people must be honest, where words come out from the depth. This is the line. Alright, this is the line, where words come out from the depth of truth. This means people must be honest in every situation. They should work in their work, their action. People should speak truth with complete sincerity, and they should stand by truth, come what may, without any fear or any burden. Alright, now we'll move on to the next slide. Who is thee in the poem? Thee is an archaic word, as I've already told you, and it means God. Okay, he's referring to God. What does the poet appeal to thee in the poem? What does the poet appeal to thee in the poem? He appeals that all these things mentioned above, like he's asking for a place where his countrymen can live with dignity, with their self-pride on, where knowledge is free, where there are no division of society, where there is sincerity, where there is like they strive for achieving excellence, alright, and where there is a clear reasoning and they are not guided by dead habits, old habits, alright, where mind is led by God. So these are the appeals that are made by Tagore to the God. Now, what qualities does the poet wish to inculcate in his countryman? That's very important. Now, have any guesses? See, the qualities that poet wishes to inculcate in his countrymen are, he wants his countrymen to have a fearless mind. He wants they should hold their head high, means they should live in with pride and dignity, and they should have knowledge. They should not be ignorant. They should have access to knowledge. Then their words should be sincere. They should be truthful, and they should be progressive. They should try to achieve perfection. They should have rational thinking. Their thoughts and action, they should be progressive of nature, and they should be led by God in all their actions. They should keep God ahead and God as a guide before them all the time. So these are the qualities that his poet is wishing for the countrymen. Do you think this is a prayer for India alone? Now, this is a very important question, because this poem is not meant for India alone, because it's meant for all the countries who were facing oppressive rules in that period, and it's about basically it's for the people, not the country. And this poem is relevant even in this age. This poem defies all the boundaries. Actually, it is not for India. It's not for that age also. This poem is relevant even now. All right. Now, what should people keep widening? What should people keep widening? Their thoughts and their action. All right. They should have a broader outlook towards life. Now, what should the word we speak reflect? It's so simple. They should come out from depth of truth. That means whatever words we speak, they should reflect sincerity. All right? This is here. Now, from what darkness of night should our country awaken? This will, take the whole of the poem as an answer, and I'll write it for you. I'll make it easy for you. See, our nation should be awakened from darkness of division of societies. All right, there should be no division of society. Old illogical tradition which hampers our growth, they should be awakened from that, from the darkness of customs which are harmful and they stand as an obstacle on our way to progress. So our country should be awakened from that. Our country should be awakened from the darkness of untruthfulness, darkness of fear, darkness of low self-esteem. And they should, from low self-esteem, they should go towards self-respect and dignity. And then there is darkness of ignorance, and from ignorance they should go into knowledge, and insincerity into the world which is full of sincere approach, and where there is freedom from all above vices. So this is from all these darknesses of night our country should awaken. Tagore has beautifully used various figures of speech to draw our attention. We'll go one by one. The first line has alliteration. You can see the repetition of letter W, and the first line also has got synecdoche. Synecdoche means when the part of something is represented by the whole, or the whole of something is represented by the part. Now here, mind and head. Here, mind and head, they stand for citizen as a whole. All right. Now, in line number 4, we have letter W and letter B repeated twice. So the figure of speech is alliteration. By narrow domestic wall, line number 5 has metaphor in it, because there is an indirect comparison made between narrow mindedness of the people and the walls. All right. Now in line number 7, there is a personification where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. All right. Here the tireless striving is stretching its arm like a human being. It's been personified to achieve perfection. Line number 8, it has got a metaphor, clear streams of reason. There is an indirect comparison has been made between reason and clear stream. Now similarly, line number 9, we have dreary desert sand of dead habit. Here old habits have been implicitly compared to dreary desert sand. In line number 10, we have synecdoche, where the mind is led forward by these. Synecdoche means representing representing part of something by the whole. So here mind is a part that stands for citizen as a whole. Alright. Now line number 12 and 11 will take it together. Into that heaven of freedom my father let my country awake. Now country awake, that means it has been personified. Country has been personified and given the quality of waking up. Now again in this line Tagore is addressing God. So the figure of speech that comes to my mind is apostrophe, because in apostrophe when invisible entity such as God is treated as a person, or he's spoken to. So here we have apostrophe. Now we'll move on to the next slide. Critical appreciation of this poem. Will cover 5 topics in this: title, poet, rhyme scheme, figures of speech, and then central idea or theme of the poem. All right. The title of the poem is Where the Mind is Without Fear, and this poem is taken from Nobel-winning anthology Gitanjali. The author of the poem is a Nobel laureate, Rabindranath Tagore, who is the first non-European to win a Nobel Prize in 1913. Um, the rhyme scheme, there is no rhyme scheme or meter followed by the poet, and this poem is a very good example of free speech, free verse. Alright, and there is a connectivity in this poem by the word where. Okay, now the various figures of speech which are used in this poem are personification, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. I've explained this you earlier also. This is personification. And dreary desert sand of dead habit. All right. Now the metaphor here is clear streams of reason. This is metaphor, and there is one more. Uh, this also dreary deserts and of dead habits. Now synecdoche is there. Into the heaven of freedom my father let my country awake. All right, here this country word, it represents the, here the country stands for the people of the country. Apostrophe is also used here in the same above line, where he's addressing, he's asking. This is apostrophe. He's asking God. All right, he's asking, he's addressing God to lead his country into the heaven of freedom. All right. Now the central idea of the poem is the poet's desire, basically, for an ideal form of freedom, which is not just political but true freedom. True freedom in the sense freedom from darkness and prejudices, divisions of the society, old traditional values, rituals, and customs which are no longer of any use of or any purpose. He wishes that his countrymen should be led by rational thinking, thoughts, and action. They should broaden their outlook, become logical, progressive. The poet wishes that knowledge should be accessible to one and all, since knowledge would only lead to people to all sorts of freedom, social, educational, or economic freedom. See, this poem has been written in the form of prayer to God. The poet is wishing for certain things that he wants to see in his country. The poet visualizes a nation where knowledge is accessible to one and all, citizens who are logical, progressive, and have a broad minded outlook. Poet is aspiring to bring about an awakening which is not only political but also intellectual. The most fascinating thing about this poem is that it has got a universal appeal, alright, even in present day scenario. Okay, that's all about this poem. Now, why, we'll move on to the next topic, why I like this poem. So the reason is I like this poem because it is relevant not only for our country but for the world as well, And also, the poem is relevant even after 75 years of political independence. Our country is still striving for educational and economic freedom. Tagore had rightly wished for true freedom, which we still need to achieve. All right. That's all, folks. Thank you very much. That's the end of this chapter. Have a good day.